Before this episode of Revenge of the Sequel, the podcast just about sequels, I want to let you know of a way you can support our podcast. You can go to patreon.com/DelphinPod and be months ahead and get exclusive access to shows that no one else gets to hear. We have an exclusive Mulan episode up there right now, right this very second. But you can also listen to our Halloween-themed horror sequel month up there already. And that's a month away. You can listen to that right now. Get spooky, baby. All right, enjoy the show.
Their story didn't end there.
How could there have been only one? And he's back in business.
Is the worst idea in history of bad ideas.
Part 2 is the final chapter in the violent history.
This time, it's personal.
You know what a Harlequin is? A Harlequin's role is to serve. It's nothing without a master. And no one gives two shits who we are beyond that. The Joker and I broke up. I wanted a fresh start. But it turns out I wasn't the only dame in Gotham looking for emancipation.
Spectacular news! Miss Quinn, she belongs to me.
Who are you guys?
Here's the deal, Quinn.
You need me.
He's after all of us now. None of us are walking out of here unless we work together.
You gotta be kidding me.
Isn't this fun? It's just like a sleepover. We should order pizza. Big Cosmos. Harley, focus. Okay. I'm the one they should be scared of. Not you. Not Mr. J. Because I'm Harley freaking Quinn.
Who's having a good time?
Get ready, ladies. Psycho chick. I never call a woman a chick. I'll accept broad, lady, woman, and on occasion bitch. Bitch? What are you talking about? That for me, will you?
Birds of Prey and the Emancipation of One Harley Quinn.
Welcome to Revenge of the Sequel. Is this Revenge of the Sequel?
Yeah.
The podcast just about... Is this the sequel?
Yeah. Start over.
Welcome to Revenge of the Sequel, the podcast just about sequels. We're talking about a movie that just came out so recently. This is
It's
probably...
not even out on Blu-ray yet, I think.
It's not,
when
definitely.
we're recording this.
Oh, it's out on VOD.
On BOD.
BOD.
Remember there was a spray called BOD at one point?
BOD?
Yeah, BOD.
I don't remember that. I only wear...
That's for fuckboys.
I only wear...
Axe body spray.
Curious by Britney Spears.
You're like, KY.
Oh, God. I lather myself with KY jelly, depending on how I want to feel. Hot or cold or alternating, baby. That's Bengay, isn't it?
That's icy hot.
That's icy hot. I'm not putting on KY jelly. Can you imagine if that used to be a prank. You would put icy hot on someone's jockstrap or something and see if they go crazy.
That was back then when people used to wear jockstraps.
I still wear my jockstrap. I wear a cup every day, baby. I don't want to get hit in the nuts. We're talking about Birds of Prey, and they changed the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn by the coward. No, I'm kidding.
That's the full title of the movie. Yeah.
Yes. Birds of Prey. It's directed by Kathy Yan.
Yan.
My name is Emmanuel.
I'm Andrew.
Hey, I'm John.
Well, can you answer this question?
Another DC movie.
Well, is this
Actually,
a sequel?
A DC movie.
It's a sequel to Man of Steel, to BVS, to Wonder Woman, to Suicide Squad.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Actually, it's...
Aquaman?
I would say it's more of a spin-off. It's still in sequel territory because it happens...
It is a Suicide Squad sequel for sure.
Yeah, exactly. It's qualified for this podcast because it happens after the events of Suicide Squad.
I guess it's a sequel for Harley Quinn,
For
the
a character, yeah, for her
not-
character, the Harley Quinn character,
and
yeah,
the unseen Joker.
Her second outing.
Yeah,
as a DC character, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I
She was on my Mount Rushmore of.
Oh yeah, we talked about this.
oh
yeah,
yeah,
really,
Harley
yeah.
Quinn.
Where
It-
like Margot Robbie is Harley Quinn forever and always now.
Did you know that Emma Roberts was
In the
considered to be Harley Quinn before Margot Robbie? And I was just thinking about like, oh, that's
running.
actually
If she would have
good.
taken this role, her career would still be like.
Actually, well, here's what I'd say.
What? She
American
it
Horror
is
Story.
alive.
She is alive.
She is alive, but her career.
Wait, who?
It
Emmy,
totally-
who did you say? it was?
Emma Roberts.
I thought you meant Emma Watson. I was like, what? She's rich as she's in like everything.
Yeah, but she missed the Oscar for the paycheck on Beauty and the Beast.
Hail as hope.
She could have been in La La Land winning Oscars.
Bum, bum, ba-da-dum, ba-dum, bum, bum.
Good job, Emma Stone.
Let's talk about Birds of Prey. Is this so? Whenever I think of this movie, I think of when I saw it initially. I thought it was like a team 'em up movie.
Was this the first time you saw it?
This is my first.
Wow. So let me go down. Let's do
Nice.
some.
You wanna
This
go-
isn't countdown to DC or Infinity or anything else, but
Go ahead.
Let me and Drew go down comic book history here. Birds of Prey is one of the premier DC
Team 'em up.
team up groups. Birds of Prey was created in 1995, and they are a all female team. The current lineup and the most famous lineup, which we will get into whenever we talk the movie, but the actual lineup is Batgirl, Black Canary, Huntress, Batwoman, or at least the current one, and then but Oracle is a good
The guy in the chair, Oracle.
Oracle is a good person to. I always affiliate with Birds of Prey because every time I've heard Birds of Prey, I was like, oh, Oracle
She's
is
the
like
brains.
the person. Yeah.
Oracle's Batgirl after
One of my
Joker shot.
one of
in
my
the
favorite
spine.
characters is the Black Canary, Dinah Laurel Lance, who is like this kind of vigilante, but also not so good because she does her own thing. She's a vigilante character who has a power of her voice, which is able to project supersonic blasts.
She would kill Venom.
She would kill anybody really in this universe. She's usually paired up with Green Arrow.
That's a different podcast.
She's she's paired up with Green Arrow because Green Arrow is usually a love interest for her character, but she is in this flick too. In the movie that we're talking about, Birds of Prey, with the Harley Quinn subtitle, is an adaptation of the very famous team that everyone has, or most DC fans that have loved for a while. Which we need to give a shout out to Gail Simone, because Gail Simone is a very prestigious comic book writer and a person who reinvented the Birds of Prey in 2000s.
Yeah, it's basically like the A-Force for...
Sort of, right? Because there's like different teams. Because there's also Gotham City Sirens, which
Right. Those are the
Harley
villains.
Quinn and
Yeah, villains.
Catwoman
Villains.
and Poison Ivy too.
And so they're basically like the A-Force of DC. But mostly, for some reason, always having to do with Batman. They're all kind of like close to the Bat family.
Yeah.
Right. We can get this out of the way now. Harley Quinn in the books was not a part of the Birds of Prey.
And
At
so,
all.
yeah, I think it's been loved for a long time, for sure, in the comic book history and for fans.
I don't know.
Cool.
I can't color it with any more. This is my first exposure to the Birds of Prey. I didn't
They
know.
used to have a canceled CW show. It wasn't a CW.
Yeah,
it
it
was,
was
you know what?
in
I do know of
2002.
that,
Yeah,
yeah.
there was a Birds of Prey show with
they made a cameo.
Helena Bertinelli was the lead character in that show, the Huntress.
They made a brief cameo in Crisis on Infinite Earths CW
the
crossover.
giant crossover. Yeah.
And
everything
so,
all together.
yeah.
So let's talk about this movie. You guys watched this in theatre because I remember
sure.
you telling me
Theaters.
that it was one of your faves. But what were your first impressions for Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn?
I thought it was funny because
Did you go in with low expectations, Drew? Because I did too.
So
I
it
totally
was funny because they Harley Quinn has an animated series in her on the DC streaming app, and so this movie was exactly like that. And at first, I didn't really like the cartoon. I thought it was a little forced and a little
Rick and
much.
Morty-esque.
And as it started to get into a groove and started to catch its stride, I became more of a fan. And I think after watching that animated series and this movie, I was a bigger Harley Quinn fan than I had ever been because I'd never been a Harley Quinn fan. but I can see the potential as to what her character can be when you try to shake loose from the status quo of what her character is or has been.
The Joker's girlfriend.
And
right?
so
Yeah.
it's really, really cool to see her. And I mean, they're still kind of playing with that dynamic as well, where Joker today in the comic books, he has another girlfriend that is kind of like a jester, like of character. Her name is Punchline, which makes sense, the punchline or whatever.
To a joke.
And-
Here's a punchline for you.
Well, and it's funny because she's actually not funny. She's very serious, and she just kills people. And Joker's like, she's hilarious. Look, she's killing people. This is funny. And Harley Quinn is kind of like the opposite of that. And so they're still playing with that dynamic and trying to fill the void of someone being at Joker's side. But it's really cool when she's not at Joker's side, because I think that she is very strong in her own right. And she's kind of like more so she's not even like a female version of the Joker. I think she's smarter in some sense and funnier sometimes. But I thought it was really good. It surprised me a lot. I props to the whole cast. I love the additions of Ewan McGregor in a superhero movie, or Mary Elizabeth Winstead in a superhero movie.
We'll talk about the
really
cast because
cool.
it's a pretty stellar cast. We'll talk about it after our first impressions.
Super super awesome movie. I think it's actually still I know most people are like Wonder Woman, like that's the best DC movie out there right now. But I think the title of best DCEU movie belongs to this. And my favorite one is Man of Steel. As a
Well,
Superman fan.
what about Martha?
What about her?
You don't like that?
I mean, I like BVS. Yeah, I mean, I like the
It's just
the director's
BVS.
cut.
I think BVS is like a little too convoluted.
I was just joking it.
Oh no,
Okay.
I do like it.
What about
for
the
sure.
Joker?
No, that movie sucks. And that's what I thought was cool, was that everyone was all on Joker's nuts. The Joaquin Phoenix thing.
No one was. We found out, spoiler, in the Joker, no one was on his nuts.
Yeah, he only imagined
I know.
people being on nuts. But this was 2 to 3 times that movie. I like that it is a very strong female-led movie without it being in your face. That's what I told John. I said, it's not forced. It's not like Wonder Woman's No Man's Land, where it's like, no man can cross that. Well, she's no man. And I'm like, oh boy, like it has me rolling my eyes type of thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Captain Marvel, where Captain Marvel is like playing I'm Just a Girl. And I'm like, I like that song. I love No Doubt. But it's a little bit on the nose, where it's like, oh yeah, I get it. Like, could you imagine if it was the original Captain Marvel and he would have been fighting the I'm Just a Girl?
Yeah.
This would have been like, this is weird. And so I think this movie does what those other 2 movies wanted to do way better. Yeah.
John, what did you think about Birds of Prey? Oh shit, let me write down. Can you recite the title without
And
looking?
the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn.
Yeah,
Yes,
Birds of
Andrew,
Prey
you win.
is a I did not like Suicide Squad. So
The Oscar-winning Suicide Squad?
yes, the
Or
Oscar-winning
the Oscar-winning Joker?
It just wasn't for me. Like Suicide Squad actually has like some strong moments. I don't want to kind of shit talk that movie because like it does have some really cool moments, and I think the strongest part about that movie is the because to me I come from a obviously bias from,
down under.
I come from a bias of
Like
DC
Margot Robbie.
of DC a bias of DC characters. So like all the people in Suicide Squad, the characterizations for me is what irked me. That being said, the Margot Robbie interpretation of Harley Quinn kind of nailed it. So I was like, okay, everything else is kind of weird, and so like if this is really cool.
This is a sidebar. Is she in Suicide Squad too?
Yes.
She is in Suicide
Cool.
Squad too.
It's-
Yeah,
it's
with
the Suicide Squad. That's what it's called.
yeah. So in James Gunn's Suicide Squad, she is in that. But like
James
so-
Gunn's is Suicide Squad.
So I liked that about that movie. So like I didn't take to the marketing or to the trailers of Birds of Prey because I was like, to me the big thing is like you're using the Birds of Prey title as your main title, but like there's no Batgirl, there's no Oracle.
Or people are like me. I don't even know who the fuck Birds of Prey is.
I guess so, yeah. But like you're throwing Harley Quinn to me like the weird insult, the comic book insult was like you're throwing Harley Quinn into these Birds of Prey, and Harley Quinn isn't a part of the Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
Like the Birds of Prey are their own little thing. All that being said, and then watching the movie for the first time, it is really enjoyable. Again, I maybe about a month before the movie came out, we were watching Drew and I were watching the Harley Quinn DC Universe show with Kaylee Kuko, who produces it and stars in it and stuff. And it's a really, really funny take on Batman villains and Batman characters. And I think this movie kind of, sort of, in a mainstream way, does the same way. Like, you get all these people who are, because the whole setting is in Gotham City.
Yeah.
Everyone loves Gotham City. Like, the Joker and Joaquin Phoenix's movie.
It's
and,
big. Everything happens there.
Right, yeah. Everything happens there. And so I did not expect this movie to be so damn fun and so damn good that, like, it would shoot to the top of my favorite DC movies. So I was really blown away by it, and then even watching it recently because I hadn't seen it since theaters because of because of life, really.
Yeah.
Because
you brought up some of the criticisms of the marketing, and I don't think you're necessarily wrong. There was something that happened with this movie that made it seem different than what it ended up being.
Right?
For
Yeah.
me, at least.
It doesn't seem like the trailers and stuff didn't sell me on the movie. Like, I think the reason I went to go watch this movie was with a friend of mine, or something like that. It was kind of like a date, really.
Complicated.
Yeah, my bad. Sorry.
Dish, John. Dish.
No, I'm not gonna dish. But the thing is, like, but we went on that, and then, like, I wasn't expecting much, and then coming out of it, like, I talked a lot more about that than I thought I would, and I was like, holy shit, like, I love the hell out of this movie. This was crazy because, like, I don't remember ever coming out of a DC theatrical flick, or at least a recent one, in other words, having that feeling.
Joker?
No, not even Joker, not even Wonder Woman.
What feeling did you have for Joker? I'm just kidding. You don't have to tell us.
But the thing is, like, it was a very enjoyable movie, and I did not expect it for that stuff. And it's also, you can tell it's a lower budget than most other DC flicks. It's got a giant cast of characters which are very enjoyable. Like, you get Ewan McGregor and Rosie Perez and stuff in these very fantastic roles. I didn't expect it to be, I guess, like, at the end of the day, I didn't expect it to be that good, seeing the track record of what happened with the DC movies. Yeah, Suicide Squad, BVS, even, I guess, Man of Steel, and Wonder Woman was like a hit, and so is Shazam. But, like, I didn't expect the funness of Birds of Prey in a Deadpool, in a post Deadpool world. There you go.
Yeah, I think I knew nothing about this or the characters or their place in the comic books. I knew who Harley Quinn was, and I thought that was exciting because one of the things that was very unique about this is it gives her character an actual story, which is rare, at least, because even though there's an ensemble cast in this movie, this really is hers. It's a Harley Quinn movie.
Right.
It's told from her point of view. She breaks the fourth wall. Like, it's about her.
It doesn't make it a Birds of Prey movie, sort of. It makes it a Harley Quinn movie.
Yeah, and I think that maybe one of the weird things is I feel like maybe and we'll talk about marketing later, but maybe they saw the potential of a team-em-up movie, and knowing that, team-em-up movies make a lot more money. Like, Avenger, like, people love when there's a lot of them, so let's focus on the fact that there's a lot of superheroes, when they maybe should have said, this is a Harley Quinn movie that has, because it really is her point of view, and the
narrative. It's almost like she almost at times is an unbelievable narrator.
Mm-hmm. Unreliable,
unreliable, yeah. But, like, she is, but, like, Kathy Yan's direction is just, it's superb. It's awesome.
Did a movie called Dead Pigs, which I haven't seen, but I've seen a lot of the scenes because it's a movie from China, and it's insane. I remember seeing a scene, and this is how cinematic the movie is. Not only does it have the flash of color that we see in Birds of Prey, but there's a moment where this lady comes out of her house and she's being interviewed by reporters, and she's a little frou-frou. She's got a dog in her hand. She has lipstick and a colorful scarf on, and she's being interviewed by these reporters saying, I'm not going to move from my house. There may be like a chemical spill. I'm not moving. I've lived it forever. They'll have to whatever. And the camera pans in, and you see the microphones from the reporters asking her all these questions, and the camera pans in past the microphones so close to her face, and she looks at the camera and starts talking to the camera, and I was like, damn, what a clever way to break the fourth wall without breaking the fourth wall, because she's still talking to the camera, but now you don't see the microphone, so it feels like she's talking at you. And that's something that I think was really surprising about Birds of Prey. It's an incredible cinematic movie, not just in the way it looks and the different tones and the colorful side of Gotham City, but even just story structure-wise, it takes a plot that could feel a little convoluted in a very real way.
Right, yeah.
Different characters crossing each other in like an Arrested Development style. That person was in the background, and she does what she can to make that story interesting and cinematic and more revealing than it would be.
She takes like a lot of homages.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad. Like
yes.
from the lore too. Like she takes a lot of homage. Like they mention Batman
Yeah.
and they mention all this other stuff too. So
Even
sorry,
some of the things with Suicide Squad. Remember Suicide Squad? They would show the person's name.
Boomerang.
And what they
Yeah,
did.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot in Suicide Squad.
she was
That
like, "Hey,
kinda
I know
happens
them."
in this. Yeah, like, but instead it's their grievances, I think, with her, right? That's what she does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the closest I think we'll ever get to a Tarantino comic book movie. Like it's like you get those like the characters are introduced at different times and they all kind of meet up at the end, like Pulp Fiction esque. There's a lot of his techniques on like the zoom ins and like just technical stuff. I think it's Man, I think it's an underrated like treasure, and it sucks that people missed out on it. And hopefully now that the quarantine is in place, that more people are watching it and kind of realizing that like
it's possible.
Well, because I want a sequel to this movie, like not
not
exactly
just the
like
Suicide
this,
Squad
but
sequel?
maybe you
Like-
could have the Gotham City Sirens go. I mean, because obviously at the end you see the real version of the Birds of Prey, which
where
are they're all heroes. The heroes and the villains split up.
And this is where it kind of goes to the fact that Harley Quinn isn't a part of it. She really isn't by the end of the movie.
She's definitely a bad guy, and she
leaves.
She
She's like,
steals
"All
one of
right."
the main.
She steals the car.
Yeah.
The Black
They don't
Canary's
become-
car.
They actually don't even become the Birds of Prey until
The very end.
then, and Harley's not.
Yeah,
there.
and so I wanted to see like a Birds of Prey versus a Gotham City Siren, so it's like a trio versus a trio type of thing. But it's a really cool ensemble piece, I think, and it's just. Man, it's like it blows my mind just thinking about the movie again.
Yeah.
John rented it and was like, "You want to watch it again? Because we only have it for 48 hours." And I was like, "I actually kind of do."
All this information that has to be told it happens in a good way where they're releasing little spurts and they inform the characters in smaller ways instead of someone just listing out who they are and what they want.
And it's funny because of the breaking of the fourth wall stuff. It's very much in her character because there are some things where she's narrating over it, and then she'll talk.
Yeah.
Like actually, like so you're hearing her thoughts, and then she actually vocalizes her real thoughts. And I told John, I said it must be crazy for the other characters because they're like, what are you looking at? Like she's fucking crazy. Like
And that works because there's a lot. It isn't just when she looks at the camera. We get the graphics when we see the grievances. We get an animation. It's all of the ways that and I think it adds up to being a really fun style for her and hopefully unique to her character. Because I think that's something that is always difficult now with superhero movies is what makes these superheroes unique, and it can't just be their literal backstory from the comics. Like what's the film's style? And the cool thing with DC is they get to fuck around a little bit more than Marvel movies,
Right, yeah.
In terms of like, hey, you can do. Aquaman is a very different tonal movie than Man of
BVS,
Steel or
yeah.
anything, and it's nice that they're able to do that. And this movie does in a very insane way. There was a lot riding on this movie. The director talks about how there's obviously going to be a lot of eyes just because it's a female director, and they have to make like $200-300 million to break even.
Which they didn't.
Yeah, and I maybe we
Which
can
is
save it to
little-
the end, but there are a lot of things that affected it outside of the quality of the movie because the movie quality is high.
notch.
It's a lot of fun. There's set pieces you would never that couldn't exist in other movies.
Oh, definitely
literal
not.
fun house.
We'll get to that.
fights and
Like
shit.
literally, we'll get to that.
But yeah, do you have the list of the actors? That you wanna go down
let's
real
do a cast roll call here.
roll call.
Cast roll call. We have Margot Robbie reprising her role as Harley Quinzel.
And also producing it. I think,
Yeah,
right?
producing it. She was the person who put this movie into production and stuff. She is Harley Quinn, obviously, from Suicide Squad. She's a little different here because she's broken up with the Joker. And
after
she
this,
don't need no man.
After this, we'll talk about the actual theme of emancipation, which is strong in this movie.
we have Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who plays Helena Bertinelli, the aka
crossbow
the
killer.
Huntress,
What's
or
her character's name in
the Huntress.
Crossbow
Scott
killer.
Pilgrim?
Ramona Flowers.
No, okay.
Yeah, so we have her playing the Huntress, a vigilante crossbowed person who's actually really awesome. We have my favorite character, Journey Smollett Bell, as Dinah Lance.
Her brother will never work in this town again.
Yes, obviously. But also she plays the Black Canary, which is an awesome character, which is super overdue for a movie, which has my favorite moment of the entire flick in this movie. We have Rosie Perez, a prolific actress, as Renee Montoya.
That Denton
cop?
guy? Yeah, that Denton
Yes,
guy?
Renee Montoya,
Pineapple
who,
Express.
if anyone knows who Renee Montoya is, Renee Montoya goes on to be The Question. And,
Yep.
you know,
I was wondering that because she seems like a regular cop who's been wronged by, obviously all of the men at the police station.
she becomes The Question. The
That's
Question is an
A
actual
faceless person.
a faceless person with a fedora hat who does, you know,
Keen
And
detective
so the
work.
question is different than the Riddler.
that being The Question was the premier basically inspiration for Rorschach.
Oh.
So like Rorschach in Watchmen, he was based off of The Question, and Renee Montoya becomes The Question.
My name is Montoya. Oh, fuck, I forgot from Princess Bride.
Chris-
You killed my father.
Chris Messina plays Batman supervillain Victor Zsasz, who Victor Zsasz in this movie is the henchman of
Roman
Sionis.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah,
That's the
Victor
way he
Zsasz
is
is a
in the-
serial
yeah.
killer in the comics
I don't like
who
when he-
marks himself with every kill that he has.
I don't like
he
when
has,
he forces face off to happen in the movie.
I mean, yeah, that's Victor Zsasz. We have Ella J. Brosco as Cassandra Cain. Cassandra Cain in the comics is a Batgirl, I think, right?
That's exciting.
I think
That's
that
like an
She's a
exciting.
Batgirl
I
at
think
one
she
point.
is the least like her comic book counterpart in the
Yes,
movie.
this is they take her liberties with this one a lot, but like she does become Batgirl in the comics.
Correct.
We have Ali Wong as Ellen Yi,
Funny.
who is Montoya's ex-girlfriend and Gotham City District Attorney.
Very good.
And rounding out the main cast, because there is other stuff too. Rounding out the main cast, we have Ewan McGregor as Roman Sionis, which is better known by Batman fans as Black Mask.
I really liked him. Like I thought that there was something off with him, but it's a very weird, passive. I don't guess also aggressive,
Right, yeah.
like spaz kind of.
I'm very glad that Mary Elizabeth Winstead is in this movie because he's in there too.
They're
They're a thing.
Are they really?
They are a thing. in
Oh
real
my
life,
God.
Yeah.
They left each other's partners when they met on Fargo and they got together.
Oh, now I don't like it.
Yeah, that's
this
kind
is
of
like
a weird-
Mr. and Mrs. Smith
No,
situation.
it's
a
kind
weird
of like
thing.
that dude
You know,
Ben
yeah, that's a weird
McKenzie on
thing.
Gotham. Remember?
Ooh, DC just has
bunch
trouble with
of-
productions.
Yeah. And so
They
anyway,
gotta keep these
If you
trailers.
work on DC stuff, you will leave
Yeah.
your other.
Are they
for
not?
another
They're
other
not
co-star.
social distancing in the trailers.
All
No,
of this
they're
being
plowing.
said, Black Mask is one of my favorite Batman villains,
Yeah.
and for him to be portrayed in this movie by Ewan McGregor,
Who barely wears the mask, but I think that actually helps the character.
oh, definitely, yeah, definitely, and it's because it's a new take on the character. It is really awesome to have
a super fleshed out.
something like this. Yeah, only because I know people. This is weird because like I'm totally satisfied with this, and Drew was nodding his head too. I guarantee you, a lot of other Batman hardcore fans
Yeah.
probably hate this version
Why?
of Black Mask because he's borderline gay. Like you
Yeah,
can
but he
totally
is-
tell.
he is-
But
Yeah.
who are the black mask stands out there? I don't think he's a.
black. No, I mean,
He's a big-
there
he's
is.
a big
He's a
deal.
big villain. Like he's like
yeah, one of the video
He's-
games, those Arkham games, is based around him.
Yeah.
Black Mask is a. He's not like a supervillain per se, but he's a.
He's like the Penguin, like a mobster.
Yeah, like a mobster who has a mask on him.
Yeah.
So
Well,
like
and
he's not
so
like
he
you know.
used to wear the mask, and then he gets caught in a fire, and the mask melts onto his skin, so he can't take it off
ever. Well, this
And
guy
so
can.
that's where I
Well,
thought that.
it's Batman's fault.
Yeah.
That's why. Yeah.
And that's where I thought this was gonna go eventually, which
Yeah.
is why the ending was such a big surprise and a welcome surprise too.
You'll
I
never
liked
see
it.
him again because he is blown, and you see.
That
blown
being
up.
said,
Yeah, it was a whole
he's
fuck.
mentioned as Black Mask, and he puts on the Black
And
Mask
Yeah.
in the
it's very
the
cool
in
because
the movie.
when they Harley Quinn obviously brings up a bunch of title cards for her assailants, and so when she mentions Roman Sionis, it has him in the card, or he's dressed up in the suit and he's got the black mask on, very similar to when they introduced him in Suicide Squad, where it shows Deadshot and all the
Deadshot.
bullets are raining on him and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And so it's
think-
really,
yeah.
It's
really
also
cool.
implied that Harley Quinn has a history with the villains. Like she was like, Black Mask hates me because of this,
Yeah.
this, and then it keeps going
because
like
she voted
reasons.
for Bernie Sanders and
Oh,
because
I saw
she
that, yeah.
I was
Well,
like,
let's
ooh.
talk about the emancipation part of this, and that's something that was because again, I think we talked about the other one. There always has to be two antagonists. Especially in superhero movies, you have a literal bad guy, but the underlying part of it is all of them are wanting freedom from something outside
Right,
of
yeah.
Black Mask. We can go down all of them, I guess, but So
The main story
Margot
follows,
Robbie,
Harley Quinn,
is trying to get out from the shadow of the Joker, who for a while not only has been protecting her but also abusing her, like in a lot of really fucked up ways.
Yeah. You've seen that a little bit in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, and so you get that's something she has to figure out, and I think that makes her such a prime candidate to be a hero in this movie because you do root for her to be that and to figure it out on her own. And this is kind of her coming out movie too. I mean, go down the list. Canary wants to be emancipated from the Black Mask.
Right, yeah. She doesn't want to work there anymore. She's a lounge singer for Black Mask Club. Yeah.
The Huntress has this insane backstory.
Revenge, revenge story.
And kind of out of that past. And Rosie Perez probably has the most realistic thing that she's trying to emancipate
She's just trying
herself
to take
from.
all of, and then, like she can't get out of the shadow of...
her workplace.
Really. Yeah. Like everybody
People
else
taking
keeps taking credit for her accomplishments.
It's a very lofty goal to have all your characters have this same thing they want. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? And then they all have to get it at the end together.
Right.
Normally you see very differing ideas and that complicated thing to happen. But I think that was nice that this movie played up to the title, The Emancipation of One Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, they form like a superhero group. But it kind of is interesting. What do you think? Because just like we just talked about Venom and how they made Venom kind of a hero, they sort of do something similar with Harley Quinn. Not only, I mean, she kills a bunch of people. She's obviously bad.
She's definitely like an anti-hero,
Yeah.
but like a little bit more of a likable anti-hero because of her personality.
She takes care of, she ends up apprenticing the
right.
13-year-old.
And even when she does do like a horrific act, like it's done in tongue-in-cheek fashion.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I
It's
mean?
funny.
Like,
Like, it's super funny.
Yeah,
Well, and
exactly.
like when she's at the club and she spills the drink on the Roman's driver, and she jumps on his legs and breaks his kneecaps, and you're like, oh,
God,
she
fuck.
You're like, oh, she did it to a bad guy, and then you end up finding out that it was Renee Montoya's the police's like mole in there. So you're like, oh, she did it to a good guy.
It's the mistakes that like she is and I think that the cool thing is that it's told very cinematically. Like all of the things that happen in this movie are through like some insane stylized thing. I mean, we talk about the stuff on the surface, but there's some insane like time lapse shit. There's all kinds of crazy stuff to look at.
It's also very relatable, where it's like everyone's gone through that breakup where you're eating junk food and you're not taking care of yourself and stuff like that, or you're having trouble at work and no one really sees your accomplishments, and and so it's really, really cool on just how they're able to balance it all. I mean, just with the amount of fuck ton of characters that are in there.
And it's definitely like hyper dramatized, but the underlying feeling is shared.
Right,
of like, I'm all alone. We're not all. Well, yeah, she's all alone, but you know, you're all alone, and you don't have many people to rely on because you've been in this relationship for so fucking long. Hyper dramatized because some of them are like, oh, you know, I'm from a crime family,
and she uses that too, where she's like, oh, I'm broken up with the Joker, but I didn't tell nobody because like no one's gonna touch me. And so that kind of sets up the whole plot of the movie. Is like, oh, I blow up Ace Chemicals. Everybody, it's like a big public, display of, hey, we're done, and now everyone's after her head basically, and that's what starts the entire movie.
Yeah, this world that they build, I mean, because you assume there's more villains there, but the underworld crime world that we get to see in this film, where there are cholos with masks. There's ransoms
there's
and
no
bounties.
Batman for some
There's
reason.
no Batman.
Well, and that's what I think that's what Gotham has always been, where it's very turf oriented, where like you're on the Black Mask gang's turf right now, and they're trying to keep you there so that you don't wander into Penguin's turf
or the Riddlers.
Yeah, the Riddlers are Two-Faces.
I read that
they all wear masks and they all have different.
The Penguin was supposed to be in this movie until Reeves was like, "I want the Penguin."
Colin Farrell.
And they were like, "Okay, you'll get sick," which is kind of sad.
You said
I
Penguin,
think, but whatever.
You said Penguin like Benedict Cumberbatch.
Penguin.
Penguin.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like whoever got there first should have gotten the Penguin. Whatever.
Yeah, man. But I mean, think of how many new characters you have to introduce.
Yeah,
and so it shouldn't have gone this well. And also, you're also picking up the pieces of Suicide Squad, which wasn't successful. And so
it was financially,
commercially, yes,
Oscar
for sure.
winning, yeah.
It's true, also, yeah. But
I can't stand. Like, if we watch this movie, like we'd probably turn it off or talk over it.
And there are some parts that are cool about Suicide Squad.
It's the characterization.
I mean, Batman comes down and fights Will Smith. I'm like, this is cool.
I remember that. Yeah,
like, oh shit, like this is dope.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Killer Croc fucking nodding his head and fucking grooving his head and shit. You're like, this is racist.
and then it just boils down to another fight
Well, and
like,
also
as the finale.
and it's a villain that not even comic book fans know.
Yeah.
You're like, man, you should have just made the Joker the villain.
But
and
it
then
was a
this would have
cool.
been.
I really thought that there was a creepy moment in Suicide Squad where her hand, she becomes the, I don't know, it takes over her or something.
Oh, Incubus.
Yeah, it was very cool looking.
Yeah, but who is Incubus? That's the whole thing. Is
well,
like,
even the
Incubus,
even
whatever.
even that wasn't Incubus.
Oh shit, succubus.
No,
Sorry.
I'm just kidding. You said Succubus.
that's so great. That was
No,
an
no,
Incubus.
I'm not sure.
I was
I don't know.
singing succubus. Incubus is a band, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It is totally.
I think they sing whatever tomorrow
But
brings up.
even the-
I'll be there. Let me finish.
Even
and
the-
open hearts and open hearts.
Even the Enchantress. You're like, I don't care about this villain.
The Enchantress is a very big villain.
Yeah,
though.
yeah,
Like,
I know,
They
but-
botched it.
Yeah, I don't know. But this movie had such a high bar to meet because of that. Because it wasn't as successful in the first one. And so, I mean, I think Harley Quinn was a really big part of the first one, and that was one of the few things that actually went right about it. But it's very neat, again, just to see on how everything was able to work out, not just to appease comic book fans, but also movie fans of cinema in general.
Yeah, I think that's why I appreciate it probably more than a lot of other DC movies. Is it does more stylistically different than any other DC movie.
It plays with structure a lot.
Structure
like a lot.
it plays with just the stuff in it, the production design, the whole thing is just on its own, which is really neat, especially when there are. Yeah, like it's. I don't want to knock anything, but yeah, it's very very different, and I think it's neat. And to have
go ahead and knock
a
it.
new voice, no, I won't knock it until I try it.
Joker.
Well, so we're all talking about Harley Quinn, but let's talk about the Birds of Prey themselves.
Bop.
What do you guys think of Mew?
Damn, I
Mary
knew that
Elizabeth
somehow
Winstead.
What did you say, Mew?
Yeah,
Too?
Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Oh, okay.
And
Mew as
I knew he was gonna bring it up.
Yeah.
And he even said something earlier. He was like, "Which Mary Elizabeth Winstead, which is awesome." And I was like, "Damn, you didn't say that about anybody else."
Well, I thought you were talking about Mew
no,
too.
because
What a big
I'm saving the best
boy.
for last. Hold on.
Perv boy.
Mew isn't. Shut the fuck up. I am not saying. I'm saving Mew or the actual best for last. But Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who is like one of my actual like favorite actresses of all time, she plays the Huntress, Helena Bertinelli, in this, and she's kind of comic relief. If that makes any sense. Did you guys get that? Like she's
Well, she embodies I think what they're.
because she keeps trying to call herself Huntress.
Yeah.
Remember?
I think
and she
that-
practices in the mirror.
Her character is the most like not regular, but
But she's the straight man to
she's
all
the
this.
straight man, normal superhero story, and I think that they're poking fun of it in a weird way, kind of as a subversion.
Everybody does because there's even the Cassandra Cain is like, put that Robin Hood shit on
Yeah.
the ground now, you stupid.
And
like,
I think that's what the whole point of her character being there is. And I thought that was really funny. And I there is so much that interconnects her with everyone else. The diamond the MacGuffin of the movie. Which somebody swallows and has to shit out. But the MacGuffin of the movie, is tied up with her, and it happens to tie everyone else in. But yeah, the only thing I'll say, they didn't really. She doesn't have much of like a mystery.
She does
right?
not.
Like we see her very quickly, and we're like, oh,
right.
we know
and
who she is.
And it's I think it's a half. I don't know if Kathy Yen meant this, but like I think me and Drew know where Huntress comes from. So we know, we're like, all right,
crime,
cool, it's the Huntress. But then when she comes up on screen, it's like almost like she's pulling, Kathy Yen is pulling the rug under from us. Like, oh, this is a very comedic version of the Huntress.
Yeah,
like,
I think it's really cool because one, she's a hero,
and she's one of the main players of Birds of
and
Prey.
I think it's funny because to me she's just being Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and it's perfect because she's again. I mean,
You've seen Fargo and all this.
Yeah, and so she's very typical Mary Elizabeth Winstead, but it works. It's not like it's stale or anything like that because it is really good and it's funny. She's got one of the best shots in the movies. Cinematography wise, where they're going down the slide and she puts
the slide.
and then the camera goes underneath her and then it films backwards to her. But
it's the best shot of the movie.
it reminds me of a shot from Super Mario Brothers where they're riding the Goombas down the slide.
Oh my
God! But and it's really really awesome. Just to have her in a superhero movie.
That is in Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't say comic book movie, but a superhero movie like DC Marvel, and so it's pretty crazy, yeah.
Yeah. So and then the next person would be Renee Montoya
That Denton
plays
guy?
by Rosie Perez, who Andrew knows basically from
Pineapple Express.
Pineapple Express. Rosie
Yeah,
Perez
I'm
is
sure
a prolific actress.
yeah,
Like
in
she's
the
been
Bees.
she's been in movies working at a shop. I've seen movies that she's appeared on on the cover since the early 90s.
That is what I call the Biz. Yes.
Yeah, Rosie Perez is Renee Montoya. Renee Montoya is a character, a very complicated character from the comics who eventually becomes a question. She is a Gotham City detective, you know. Rosie Perez is just awesome in the movie. Like she is like drinking, she is drunk. Like you can tell, and like the characters comment on it, like, "Hey, fix yourself a drink." Like it's noon, almost noon, and stuff. She is awesome in the role.
She gets to wear Harley Quinn's New 52 fucking
Outfit. Yeah, like it's so
oh,
crazy.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
And I think she's the straight man to all this. Like, so, like, the straight person.
Oh, I was like, man.
No,
huh?
but the state, because like, when at the very end, when they're all like doing that Mexican standoff, she's like, holy shit, you're not going home at all.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, you can, she's like, I'm not letting you go at all. So like, that's pretty cool. Cassandra Cain, who is played by, hold on, my phone just went idle. Sorry, fans of
No Silence.
of Ella J. Bosco. Sorry, she plays a really good Cassandra Cain. How do you guys? I mean, what do you think, Andrew? Especially you, since you're familiar with the comics. She's not exactly a Batgirl material in this one, but
yeah.
she's interpreted as like a MacGuffin type of character, really. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, you have to have stakes in the movie, and so I think it's really cool to humanize a bunch of these superhero characters.
Because they're all superhero characters in the books,
And
right?
so, yeah, it's really cool to kind of see them, again, humanized where they actually care or give a shit about the kid.
Yeah.
And it's the diamond that the kid has, but it eventually turns into like, no, we're going to protect the kid. Because, I mean, at the end, towards the funhouse thing,
Zaz is going to cut her up.
She's definitely scared, and like, all these people are here for me. And Harley has to kind of shift the fear from her because she's a kid.
Yeah, and she does betray her too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like
But it's one of the heartbreaking moments because remember it's what's that dude who houses Harley Quinn in that Asian food shop?
In the movie?
Yeah, remember?
Yeah, I know
the
what
guy.
you're talking
It's her landlord,
Yeah,
I
and
think, or
so
something like that.
He
yeah.
also betrayed her.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's what made it so sad was that's the turning point for her, where it's like no one stays good in this world.
Yeah.
Like everyone, like he was the one that wouldn't rat me out and blah blah blah, and he hits her with it's just business. And after that, she's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have attachments, and maybe I should give up the kid and save my skin and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then it ends up turning into like, hey, I mean, the whole last sequence is them protecting the kid. There's a bunch of guys who are henchmen who are trying to grab her and stuff like that, and so you get Renee Montoya and the Black Canary, and you get the Huntress and Harley really trying to save her for sure.
I was just reading some things about this movie that made it really unique. They filmed it, again, we talked on a smaller budget, but they filmed it completely in Los Angeles to keep it even, they don't have to pay for travel or anything like that. And that made them have to rethink the color because obviously New York is different than sunny, bright, Los Angeles. And then also that Kathy Yan had never used storyboards before, and in the movie they forced her to. They reshot some. There's some crazy rumors out there that I wouldn't give any credence to. Some of them are fucked up. I'll tell you guys off mic about the behind the scenes of this, and I feel like it's a weird thing that happens with comic book movies,
really,
where these rumors go like way off kilter. But they reshot and added some scenes or sequences to action scenes that worked better after they had already filmed. For example, the Funhouse sequence was a lot shorter than it is now. And then just like, all studio movies, it was edited heavily based on test audiences. And I don't know if you guys have ever done test audiences. I've only done it twice, but you watch a movie and you give grades on a piece of paper and then you turn it in. And so this movie, and she had never done this before either, but because it was a studio movie, it wasn't like she could say no. Does that make sense?
Right,
They had
yeah,
to re-edit this movie to fit whatever people wanted more of or less of, which is insane to me. Apparently,
That
Margot
is
before
Robbo.
they even started, Robbo had to have the studio sign an agreement saying this was going to be rated R, because without the agreement, they would have done, whatever they wanted
and
with it.
like and I think ultimately the R rating kind of hurt this movie, like financial wise, like box office wise.
We talk about Venom, which is the opposite of this, which they wanted it to be R, but then they like rejiggered it to be PG-13.
But for this movie, like, I think the R kind of hurt it because like it didn't need to be R. That being said, like in rewatching stuff like this, like
Do you think it's needed, the R rating or the violence?
because like the violence was like, I mean, we had just come off of like watching the Harley Quinn
And
show.
that's
The
the
Harley
same
Quinn show
thing.
is like almost Rick and Morty esque.
Well, and it's the same thing. Like I think Doctor Psycho says cunt, and the whole world
Yeah.
stops, and it's so funny because he calls Wonder Woman a cunt like on live TV.
Wonder Woman?
Wonder
Yeah,
Woman
he's a
herself like
Wonder Woman
drops
villain.
her like lasso, like she stops fighting him and like.
Yeah, and then you like it turns to like people like stop and like look at
And
him.
he
and
was
it's just,
canceled
like,
as a villain. Like, she didn't
exactly.
even get to fight him. Like, people took him away. Like, no,
You're canceled. Like,
deserve-
you're not a villain. And so I think it's funny because I think Warner Brothers actually had an idea, and they were like, "Hey, let's take Harley Quinn away from Joker with the breakup." And then they looked at their animated and their live action divisions and said, "Hey, do this."
Yeah.
And so because they're both the same story in the animated, it's the team up thing. She's King Shark,
Yeah.
Doctor Psycho, Clayface, and
You
so
know,
they're putting together a thing when she's broken up.
They
with.
did make they made it very clear to the people working on this movie that they wanted this to be as separate from the Suicide Squad as possible as well. Because you're right, they do make these divisions in the story and the characters because they want everything to kind of stand alone, which is interesting because as we talk about Marvel a lot, but DC's extended universe seems to be taking the approach of like, hey, Joker, Oscar-winning Joker can happen as like this weird one-off piece, but also in the same world we're gonna have a Batman and all this other. And James Gunn has another Suicide Squad, which doesn't have to be exactly like the first one, but it's interesting how that the because they're taking that approach, they have to draw these lines more clearly to be like, you're making Birds of Prey, you cannot do anything that Suicide Squad did. It has to be totally different. Interesting.
I mean, and there's some awesome sequences in the movie too. One of my favorite sequences is when she enters the police station and then all the way up until she escapes in the van away.
Yeah.
Because they got two stellar fight sequences, which Margot Robbie did most of the stunt work, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Because watching BTS videos on this is...
BTS, the Korean pop band video.
yeah, I like the way you said Korean pop instead of K-pop. But yeah, it's really, really cool to see, and it's so true to what Harley Quinn is in the comics. She's using like it's kind of like Terminator 2, where she's got like a grenade launcher that shoots beanbags, that shoots...
She's a little
confetti,
less... Yeah.
That shoots glitter, confetti, and smoke grenades. And the smoke is pink and blue, and so she emerges from this pink and blue smoke
cool.
with the confetti around her.
I get-
I'm like, man, this is the most Harley Quinn that I've ever seen.
That's really cool too, because like, not to make this awkward, but like it moves away from because there is an aspect of this in the comics too, but it's a sexual aspect where she's kind of like
she's very sexualized character
in the comics and in also David
Suicide
Ayer's
Squad, for sure.
Suicide Squad.
Let's
But
put
like
her in the smallest shorts that we can find. Let's
thing
put
is,
her in
like-
a cut-off midriff shirt.
Yeah.
but you wouldn't have noticed like, there's no sexualized aspect of this character in this movie unless we're talking about it right now. Like
Yeah,
that's
right.
the whole thing is like that's
Well,
what's
and they-
what's the cool thing about this
They could
movie.
have done that with any one of the characters. Where even like she puts on the man, what the fuck is that called? That corset,
bustier,
yeah, the bustier.
bustier, wow.
Celine, anything for Salinas. Yeah, and so she puts on a corset, and you're like, man. Margot Robbie could have been wearing this, or any one of the characters could have been wearing this the whole movie, but instead they're mostly all covered, and so
It's a hood,
because
whatever
that's how
makes-
normal people are.
yeah, exactly. And
yeah.
it
They
doesn't
wanna be
wanna-
comfortable, they
it
wanna do
doesn't-
what they wanna
It doesn't
do.
want to distract from what it's trying to do, which
Which is like the opposite of Fast and Furious. Where
Right,
they get
yeah.
20 butt shots. And it's about cars.
Well, and it's funny because we just talked about
Well, even like Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad
true.
like actually
Yeah.
has a shot of her changing.
Enchantress
So it's
is
just like-
wearing like fucking string.
Yeah,
And you're like,
this happens in
belly dance.
Justice League has these weird scenes too, where the
With
framing,
Wonder Woman,
the
yeah.
framing for Wonder Woman is totally different than
It's
for
on her
all the
butt.
other
Let's
characters.
just show all her legs.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, the guys can do close-ups. Wonder Woman, no.
Yeah.
it's super obvious. Oh,
Well,
whatever.
and again, like that's what I appreciate about this movie because if we hadn't mentioned it,
Yeah.
I think most people wouldn't have even.
thought of it. As,
Yeah, exactly.
It's
And
also
so-
yeah.
Well, and the people who were like, man, you ruined Harley Quinn by not making her sexualized because she's like this. Like this movie is obviously I know why it went over your head.
Yeah, because the film is about the emancipation of.
And you see those people who are like, man, I wanted to see Harley Quinn and Daisy Dukes. Probably don't even know what emancipation means.
Oh, the proclamation?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, definitely at that point, yeah.
If they
don't know what the first word means, they definitely don't know what the second word means.
I am going to go on record and say I liked it. The Emancipation Proclamation was good. I know it's controversial.
But it's carried our country for
It's
about
half the country, yeah. But I liked it. Well, yeah. What else do you guys want to talk about? We talked about some of the very famously, right? The John Wick people and the Deadpool people did some of the
Stunt work.
stunt
for
work.
this.
Matthew Libatique, who is an awesome cinematographer. He's Darren Aronofsky's cinematographer.
Who also shot Venom.
The best cinematography for this movie is great. I want to say, like, we were going down the list for the Birds of Prey people. We did not talk about my favorite character in this movie.
Black Canary.
The Black Canary.
La, 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 la.
Dinah Laurel Lance.
How did she get stuck being? I don't remember. How does she get stuck being not the driver? Because I know that's
have Drew
the singer
narrate this.
for the club.
Or for this movie,
They don't,
yeah.
they don't really
Oh, for
mention
this
it.
movie, yeah,
She
yeah.
just has that's her superpower,
She's there
and
already.
they do mention at her mom's like it's a heritage thing.
Yeah, Dinah Drake.
Where she was part of the JSA as the OG Black Canary. And
Were you about to tell me how she gets that power? Or
No.
not?
I
Okay.
mean, it's her mom. Her mom has it. Yeah.
Your mom.
Oh no!
But yeah, and so
She's a very popular character. Like,
it is
or
very
at
cool.
least I think so.
Wait, and
Like,
it was crazy because
underrated.
I thought that as successful as the CW DC shows are, I thought they had botched her because they kill her early on. Spoiler alert.
Wow.
and then they
kill
give her
and
a necklace. Remember?
And then they
That's like,
replace her. They keep replacing her, and so they're like, "Hey, we have to get a multiverse version of her so that we can bring her back." And
Yeah.
I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" But it's really really cool. Yeah, I was about to say, I was like, she becomes the driver because she stops
remember
Harley
that.
from getting took.
Yeah, I remember that.
took advantage of by men.
Yeah, and then they just see outside the window like
She's kicking ass, and that's
Get her.
a really really cool fight sequence,
Yeah.
and that's what I like about. They don't really have to explain. Like no one ever questions like, how come Black Canary knows how to fight? How come Huntress knows how to fight?
Mm-hmm. how come
Like,
Ray has force powers?
Yeah. Oh my god, it's because she's related to Palpatine.
Oh.
Yeah, but
Wait, we actually do get the explanation. Okay, never mind.
But so it's really, and she's an awesome character. She's got one of the best parts in the movie. I think it's probably one of the biggest budget parts of the movie because it
The canary
requires
cry.
a lot of
Oh, yeah.
probably CG, and that's what I think is cool because they didn't obviously in a superhero movie you're like, we need to see Superman flying at the beginning.
Yeah.
We need to see him using his heat vision, and so this kind of
Ice breath.
This kind of exactly. It kind of saves like the payload until the end where everything just starts to fucking
We
go
see them
off.
all come together.
Well, and there's these bigger, longer one-shot sequences of them fighting in the funhouse, and everyone's doing their thing.
What a
and
cool
So,
set piece to have the last stand for all of them. X-Men last stand. I think that's what's really neat too. This is closer. It's closer to like the Tim Burton set pieces than it is the Dark Knight. This
Oh, yeah,
is
yeah,
Chicago,
definitely.
Gotham. You still have this fun color stuff. that
because
I
Black Mask
actually-
is out there with his mask
with
on.
his mask on. They're literally in a fun house, like
Yeah.
fighting, riding down slides and things like that. That just leads to that's just part of Cathy Yan's temperament when it comes to color and tone and mood. But I also think like that's one of the takes of Batman or the Batman universe that I sort of miss a little bit. I know that we're all about hyper realism now and like, what does this mean? Politics, Joker. But I miss kind of the fun, even when it comes to the Adam West.
Batoozy.
Batoozy.
the
We're gonna
dancing-
do the Batoozy. That's fine, and I think it can exist in the same world. It's nice to see it kind of coming back in a more like as a full piece instead of just parts of like Suicide
Parts
Squad.
of other
And
stuff,
we also didn't talk about the egg sandwich. No, I'm just kidding.
That was such a fun moment.
We'll get
was
to
a
that.
real-
I just want to say
Hey,
my
such a good
piece
part.
on
And she gets it.
Black Canary though.
Nope.
Like
No, I'm just kidding.
Black Canary is an
Oh, God, back to
amazing
Black
character.
Canary.
No, just like she deserves her own movie.
No,
I think so. You don't think so at all? Like
Yeah,
Drew-
no,
she got
I
this
think
movie.
I think all of them deserve their own movie after this one.
she just got Birds of Prey.
No, I mean, yeah, obviously, because Black Canary, that's the safe thing. It's like doing an actual
Yeah.
Birds of Prey movie with Black Canary, that's safe.
Yeah.
And
But
you
actual
would-
Black Canary,
you
like,
never thought a safe movie would have been a big
I
team
would-
up ensemble.
Yeah.
if anyone gave me like just Three, like
What?
3 minutes.
No.
No. Whoa.
I
you
can give
didn't let
2
me
minutes
finish.
back.
$3 in general, $3
$3
to write a Black Canary script.
Oh,
I
okay.
would definitely write a
Why
Black
don't you just
Canary
do it?
script.
Do it on spec.
It is so. I mean, Black Canary is one of the best characters in DC. Like I would say that.
This
yeah.
leads to a bigger question. Do you think? Because obviously, for me, it's a little obvious why they
Like in my opinion, I would write a Black Canary script to spin off a Green Arrow script after that.
Yeah. Well, do you think? Because to me, it's really obvious why they have Harley Quinn in this movie.
Right.
Is because Harley Quinn is one of the more marketable characters in
like
the DC
Deadpool.
universe. Do you think that they'll do anything smaller than like a Batman or Superman or Flash? I think the person writing this actually is writing the new Flash movie with Andy Muschietti. But do you think that they would
Ezra
do
Miller's
something
canceled.
like that? Is he really?
I don't
Remember, he was
know.
choking that fan out.
Oh yeah.
He was
I
choking
don't
that
know. See, that's the thing is like I don't. When it comes to DC, I really don't know because like I think it's still.
You think they'd rather do another Batman?
Well, yeah, exactly. Because like Warner Brothers, that's weird. Because I was like, I don't know anybody at the Warner Brothers level, but like Warner Brothers really wants to capitalize on their franchise. They always seem to alternate between Batman and Superman.
Yeah.
And obviously Superman doesn't bring in the dough for them, so they always like retreat back to Batman.
Yeah.
That being said, it's like if they were to let creators actually do their thing, like I think like you know Black Canary or Batman or Green Arrow or even fucking Huntress or no, Huntress belongs with the Birds of Prey, but like even stuff like Birds of Prey and stuff like Kathy Ann, what she's doing right now, it's amazing. Like I don't know why you wouldn't do that from the start. Like why do you hire the Zack Snyders
Oh, boy.
and shit like that. Like it's because like Zack Snyder. I don't shit. I
Snyder
feel like
Cut. Release the Snyder Cut.
I feel like I'm taking a dig at
my
like
God, you're
one of
you're
our
triggering
old
so many
one of
people
our
right
old
now.
colleagues, but it's just like
You didn't like Sucker Punch?
Oh god.
that is not the way to go. Like you know what I mean? Like like Kathy Ann really got what made
she
these
breathed-
characters tick, and it's not a interpretation that like alienates people.
It's like I feel like it's closer to new life in a genre or in a group of characters that you wouldn't have thought of before or even
Right, yeah.
had any kind of a platform before. I don't really understand the idea, and I guess for them because they're own. I mean, this goes really far back because they're owned by AT&T. They're not necessarily. There's a ton of creative people at Warner Brothers, but they answer dollars and cents at the end of the day to even a difference like Disney doesn't. Disney creativity is their bread and butter. They don't have a phone service or they don't have a cable thing. They have parks and they have Disney Plus, but so everything has to service that. But I have to you've got to think about the mindset of I guess the people at the very top of Warner Brothers who have to deliver money at the end of the day, and maybe that's why they can only do Batman and Superman and can't do anything else. I heard this really insane. I have some stocks in AT&T, and there was a shareholder call, and the CEO of AT&T that owns Warner Brothers is questioning DC and questioning theatrical releases and whether or not to continue a whole lot of things a lot of people have been working on.
That's Warner though,
and
like
that's
in general,
the person
yeah.
in charge of who's in charge of all of AT&T. And I was like, what an insane thing for the guy in charge to say, to be like, well, why don't we just not do it? Well, if
That's so
if it's
crazy,
going to
yeah.
lose us money, then why are we doing it? Is basically what it boils down to.
Hey,
and that's an insane thing to think about.
Yo, the head of Warner. Fuck you.
Oh my
there you
god!
go. Yeah.
That's gonna shut off my phone.
Well, like, 'cause
But
that's
yeah, it's-
stupid. Like,
yeah.
he's like, we need theatrical releases. It doesn't matter if they're comic book or not. Like, I don't want to see the next Nolan movie on my TV. You know what I mean? Like, we need to see that in theaters.
Isn't that funny though that Nolan makes movies for Warner Brothers, and yet the guy who's in charge is basically saying to Chris Nolan, like, wait, why are we?
Right, exactly,
Why are your
yeah.
things so expensive? Basically,
Warner Brothers is a very problematic company. There you go. I'll just say that for a bunch of reasons.
John does not like the Warner
Disney's
Brothers.
got to buy them, baby.
Which is really weird because, like, I love Warner Brothers
Yeah.
properties, but, like, they're so
You hear
stupid.
that, Harry Potter? John doesn't like
Dun,
you.
dun,
They're
dun,
so
dun.
stupid. I
Harry
would
Potter.
yeah, that's my record on it. Fuck yeah.
Warner Brothers had a time where they would warn people. I'm kidding. But yeah, I think when we talk about the next phases of Warner Brothers movies and DC movies and superhero movies, I worry that this is. I mean, this because this movie, we can talk about it soon, like how it didn't do as well as it needed to. I wonder if this is going to be the
straw to break the camel's back.
or the thing that everyone who greenlights movies will be like, well, we can't do something like that because
we'll see what
look at this
1984
one.
looks like.
Wonder Woman. Push back because of COVID. But what do you guys think? What are your I guess your hypotheses for why it didn't do as well as I guess other Disney
Suicide
movies?
Squad.
Yeah, or
Suicide Squad.
Rated R?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think like
R-rated. I think
Nowadays-
I think a little.
Yeah.
I think teenage girls and teenage boys would have loved to have seen this movie.
Yeah,
but
it was good. I think if more people watched it, they would have liked it.
I think it's literally that. I think it's that people are thinking it's going to be as bad as the last one.
Yeah.
Especially
That
when you
kinda
see all the
sucks.
colors and you see her outfits and you're like, what the fuck is she wearing?
Yeah.
But you got to realize she's fucking crazy.
Warner's did make it clear that they were marketing it towards women who would watch rated R movies, and that was it. Like that was their main thing. And Yan wanted it to be just marketed to everyone. Does that make
Right?
sense?
Yeah.
So it was a really interesting. And
I
then
think
they did
it's
the name change thing too. I think right.
Yeah, they did after a while. I mean, I don't know. I think it's great for everybody. Like, I think if everyone actually watched this and kept their, this is the stigma of DC movies, I guess, because like some of them, flat out just saying it, like aren't as enjoyable as as some other ones. This one is the most enjoyable of the bunch, and I think like it suffered for that because like everyone came into a preconceived notion that it wasn't going to be good because it's an extension of what the last one was, and
Yeah.
the last one wasn't that good. That's what it's like.
And I
you
guess
know.
before the last movie that came out was Joker. The
Yeah,
last
Joker.
DC movie that came out, which is totally
a
different
very,
in tone.
I think it's a weird type of irony in that sense
Yeah.
because, like, you have a movie about the Joker and then you have a movie about the Joker's girlfriend,
Yeah.
which are totally unrelated, and one of them is better than the other, and it's not the one that you think.
Yeah.
Like,
won Oscars and they're both rated R too.
Yeah,
That's
they're
true.
totally both where they are. And like, Joker, as much shit as we talk about Joker on this podcast, Joker is in a cool movie. It's all right. That being said, it's made by different people, and it's just like, I think you're trying to be a little too
pretentious.
Yeah, like in the sense.
Oh.
Like,
I think the best parts of the
it's
Jokers
weird.
were borrowed.
Because like, you're making this Joker movie, you're like, we're making a Joker movie. It's got IP attached to it, but it's not this IP. And it's just like, that's dumb.
They
as
just
hell.
remade The King of Comedy here. They just
Well,
remade
but
the
yeah,
Taxi
with
Driver.
like, yeah, in a comic book brand, like that's what you did, and it's just like,
I liked it better the first time. And Harley Quinn, this is something that's fresh, that's brand new, that's something we've never seen before.
Yeah.
which is from the same like literal mold of
Yeah.
what you just
You
did.
just did
but-
earlier. It's just not as grim.
Well, it's not just not as grim. You're not trying to trick people into
Yeah.
what it is.
To be honest, there was a lot more violence in Birds
Because
of Prey.
Joker,
Yeah.
you're trying to trick
more fucked
Joker
up.
into thinking it's an intellectual movie, and not that comic book movies can't be intellectual movies, but like
Thanos? He was right.
well, I mean, I will, yeah. See, if you're bringing that up, I will argue that Infinity War is a deeper movie
They worked really hard on
than
writing that fucking thing.
than
It's
Joker.
crazy.
Yeah, like Infinity War is a deeper movie
That's
than
true.
Joker.
I mean,
Yeah.
how many 60 characters that all had to have moments? But so do you think, I'm going to ask you guys this, do you think the idea that DC movies are darker, grungier in theme, or they're, do you think that's caked in at this point or not? Because obviously this movie is very different than the rest of them.
I don't know, because like I think in the grand scheme of things, I feel like maybe, but like I don't. Yeah, it's kind of a hard question to answer because like I think DC is trying to do what you just said, like trying to be smarter than the rest, but sometimes it can't. It comes off as obvious. So like example being Joker.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? So
Forced.
yeah, exactly. I don't know what they're trying to do. Like Watchmen, I think they try to do the same thing with Watchmen. That being said, Watchmen was a masterpiece.
Cost a shit ton, yeah.
Well, and also because
Well,
that's the way the book was.
It's a
too.
masterpiece. No,
Yeah.
no, I'm talking about not anything. I'm talking about the show.
Oh,
the
okay,
show was
yeah.
like what they
Show's
did.
good.
Also because that's the way the book was too.
Yeah, because it's just like it's a masterpiece. Like
Yeah.
they did not. They're trying to be intellectual, and it's great, but like it's only for towards certain properties. Like if you're trying to do like I don't know, if you're trying to do a Captain Boomerang fucking
Yeah.
like deep show, then like you're probably failing.
You know what? And in a couple of months, all theaters will shut down anyways, and they'll all go bankrupt, and there won't be a theatrical. So this is all pointless today.
Yo, fuck.
Trolls made all of their money back with no need to share with a theater. So
Yeah, I saw that.
Trolls World Tour. All right, we gotta do that movie. I have it.
No.
Any other final thoughts on Birds of Prey? I know we're leaving on a weird esoteric note.
Go watch Birds of Prey if you haven't seen it. I don't know why you haven't seen it if you're
Spell
listening
Prey
to this
for
podcast.
everyone.
But
Because I typed in Birds of Prey, P-R-A-Y, and I got doves.
Oh yeah.
P-R-E-Y.
You might want to adjust your spelling on that. That being said, Birds of Prey is the best DC movie out there.
Wow.
I said that at the beginning, for
Dark
sure.
Knight?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's why I said DCEU for sure. But yeah, I mean, I think so too. And there's just, I mean, I know we talked about, we barely even scratched the surface on this movie.
Yeah.
But I think there's just so much that you need to see for yourself just to kind of sell you on the fact of how good it really is. And I mean, it's rewatchable too. I remember watching it the second or third time and not being as, bored as I am when watching other movies for a second time or third time. Like, I mean, we just watched Venom and I couldn't even sit still through it. And I think it's one of those things where, like, these movies try to be very extreme in a way, and sometimes it doesn't work out, which is like Venom. And then sometimes it does work out, which is like, Birds of Prey, where, I mean, it works out product-wise, maybe not commercially, but I think it's one of those things that's going to be like a cult film, or it'll get rediscovered down the line, and people will say, "Why the fuck didn't I watch this?" And ultimately there's no one else to blame other than Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
And some of these properties, maybe they just need to license out to some people, and maybe they'll be in better hands that way, or maybe they just need to get sold, or the right people need to buy them, or whatever. But as for the character of Harley Quinn, I think I know her future looks bleak now, but I think she's one of those characters where she'll always be
She's in Suicide
around.
Squad.
Yeah, she'll always be around.
Yeah, we'll see her again.
For sure.
And I hope it's closer to this Harley Quinn than before.
Well, and that's what scares me about the Suicide Squad is, like, how many people aren't going to go see it because they think it's a sequel to the second one, where it's kind of more of like a redo on a lot of things. I know they're bringing...
But you know what? They're going to write on in all the things, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy.
That's what my hope is that people like the fact that this is going to be the first time a director is doing both, working for both companies, is going to be interesting, because I think that's what's going to draw a lot of people to the theaters.
And I mean, we haven't seen it yet, but you assume it's going to be closer to a fun movie, which is sad because it's going to be closer to Birds of Prey than it is other movies.
I think it's going to be truer to the Suicide Squad nature, where he's got like 50 cast members in here, and he's going to kill 30 before 30 minutes in the movie.
The suicide will be a big part of Suicide Squad.
And I mean, I think and that's what I'm excited about, and I think that's why James Gunn said he had more fun making these in the first two
James
Guardians
Gunn said
movies.
that Harley Quinn is the best character he's ever written for in his life.
I think that he's going to...
That's awesome.
I think he enjoys working on the Suicide Squad more because he could be more of his truer self, where DC gives him a little bit more liberties, where he doesn't have to be as family-friendly as Marvel.
Yeah,
and so
it's probably going to be rated R.
He came from the roots of that, and he was very extreme, which is what the tweets that got him in trouble for. But
go ahead and bring him up, Andrew.
It's the same thing where, well, I mean, I'm glad that thing happened, because that's why he's able to work for the two studios, and no one else deserves to work for the two studios in that way as James Gunn.
I think it's a little freeing.
I don't mean
too.
to be
It's weird.
speaking for you, Drew, but like I do not find Gunn's old. I mean, they're problematic, but they're just like.
Oh my god!
Well, the thing is, like, I mean, I don't know. So it's like we knew what he was before he. Oh shit! Yeah, my bad. I'm digging myself a grave. Yeah,
that's
he's cool. He's cool. That's why.
I mean, I thought he was cool even after the tweets where I mean, like, yeah, of course he shouldn't have tweeted those.
Yeah, obviously.
But again, that's
we've all said some stupid shit in the past.
He made his living that way. That's how he got discovered, was being so extreme that way, and that was his shtick. And so the fact that people don't know the real James Gunn, or the fact that's the reason why people reported him and people gave him such shit about it, is because they didn't know what he was really like.
Like, he made this movie with the raccoon.
They only saw this family-friendly James Gunn that Marvel has, but that's why I think ultimately he had a lot more fun doing the Suicide Squad stuff. stuff. And so I'm really excited for him. But again, I worry for it because I don't know how many people think that it's going to be attached to the shittier DC movies that they don't like. But hopefully it's good, and hopefully more people see it because of him. And hopefully people see Harley Quinn in there and say, hey, she was really cool in this one. Let's go back and watch Birds of Prey before we watch the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, it's possible to have new life. I really enjoyed this movie. I think it definitely stands on its own and is one of the better in the DC extended universe. It's nice to see Harley Quinn have a good story and not just one that's. This movie revolves around the Joker a little bit, but it doesn't really rely on the Joker that much. And I think that's really good for a character like Harley Quinn, especially when she's stigmatized in weird ways, like we talked about, sexually or people just try to make it as dark as possible in parts of, some parts of art. Time will tell whether or not this approach for the DCEU will work. I'm going to go down a list of the future movies that are coming out, and a lot of them will never intersect with each other.
Definitely
in
not.
a weird way, and they're very different. Wonder Woman 1984, The Suicide Squad, The Batman, Black Adam, The Flash, Shazam 2, Aquaman 2. Those are all confirmed to be coming out in the next 2 years.
But they're not connected to each other.
They're not, and that's a
Shazam
lot.
2 and Black Adam probably. Obviously, they have to be.
That's 7 movies that are coming out in the next 24 months. That's a lot. And
the
so
Batman
time will tell whether
be.
they'll work. So, I mean, I hope they all do well. All those names that I listed off are really well known in a weird way. So it may not face the same thing that putting something called Birds of Prey and expecting people to understand who those are or whatever may not have that same issue. But yeah, I hope to see more from this director. She has great sensibility, and I think she's really the way she can cinematically make something funny is good, and I think it's nice. And then obviously the entire cast is really fantastic. They're going to have great careers, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, Kathy Ann said that a Birds of Prey sequel would literally focus on Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy's relationship, which is like an actual giant thing. Like it's a really cool thing.
I think they wouldn't even call it Birds of Prey.
It would be Gotham City Sirens.
They'll call it Harley Quinn.
I mean, I'm sure the movie would be better. That's what they tried to change the title to.
Yeah,
when it was out.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
What do you guys have to plug?
Listen to all your Delphin Pod podcasts. Revenge of the Sequel, obviously, this podcast you're listening to is having some new episodes. Countdown to Infinity, Countdown to Skywalker have some exciting stuff. We have some video games, Clone Wars, and other Star Wars goodness for you. As for Countdown to Infinity, we have a lot of non-MCU Marvel stuff coming your way.
It'll be good. I think we need to do more Marvel. I feel like we're already at the last.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Release episode.
I don't know. After this, we're going to do some from the Vault Marvel stuff, like the Captain America original movie and Howard the Duck.
Howard, more like Howard the Fuck.
Oh yeah, that's there. The
Punisher.
Yeah.
The first Punisher and stuff like that.
We have so many different Fantastic Fours we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, X-Men. Let's not do any more Fantastic Fours.
We've only done one of the Spider-Mans.
We can do Amazing Spider-Man.
We can do Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah, we can do that.
Isn't it crazy? $800 million, and they were like, ooh, this movie failed. I was like, that's fucking...
Wait, Birds of Prey?
Spider-Man.
Okay.
I was like, man, that's...
I wish Birds of Prey made that money.
That's a respectable
that
amount.
Being, so let's... listen to all of those. Listen to the Director Showdown podcast, which it has a new season right now. It's Taika Waititi versus Edgar Wright. So if you have your preferred episodes, go on to the Sticker Fridge Network and listen to that. And otherwise, just be safe. Wash your hands. Wash your face. Wash your ass.
No.
And just, Delphin's against washing your ass.
No, thank you.
I like the musk.
Yeah, take that as you will. But
I like
please
the clown in the brown.
Please be safe, guys.
I'm not sure if the comic book shop I work at is going to be open by the time you listen to this, depending on when you listen to this. But if we are open, come visit me. We H&F. We can hook you up with really cool Birds of Prey, Gotham City Sirens, Harley Quinn, Huntress, whichever character that you loved in this movie. Which, if you didn't love all of them, then something might be wrong with you. I'm just kidding. But, So, Yeah, Emmanuel, what you got to plug?
Motherfucker.
I'll watch all the listen to all the Delphin Pod shows. Go to patreon.com/DelphinPod. It goes a long way in helping us out if you donate there, and buy a shirt at tpublic.com. Search Delphin Pod, and that's it, guys. Watch Birds of Prey. You'll really enjoy it, and stay safe, even though most of the classes or most of the world is opening soon.
Oh yes, if the part of the world that you're living at is opening, please be safe.
Yeah.
And smart.
Bye.
Yeah, sorry.